Contrary to what many think, tattooing began about 10,000 years ago. It did not start with Otis and the Iceman, as here in South America there are records dating back over 7,000 years of mummies that were found with tattoos. For example, the Nazca mummies discovered in the southern region of Peru. Some mummies from this culture date back to 200 years before Christ. And 600 years after Christ, they show tattoos that might be some of the oldest in the region. The Chinchorro mummies found in northern Chile dating 7,000 years before Christ. These mummies are some of the oldest in the world, although the tattoos are not as well documented as in other cultures. The first art manifestations recorded are cave paintings. The oldest of them is 45,000 years old and is in Indonesia. These art manifestations were basically a trophy. If the man of that time hunted an animal and managed to kill it, he would draw that animal inside the cave. But now comes a question. What was the ink they used made of? In various regions of the world, including South America, cave paintings often depict human figures with marks, patterns, or designs that resemble tattoos. These representations may suggest that the practice of tattooing was common in ancient societies. One of the ways they used to make ink was by using charcoal or soot from the fires they made inside the caves. The first recorded use of controlled fire by hominids dates back to approximately 1 million years ago. With evidence found in sites like Wunderwijk Cave in South Africa, however, some older indications of fire date back around 1.5 million years, associated with species such as Homo erectus in places like Olduvai Gorge and Kobe Furrow in East Africa. The first recorded use of charcoal in tattoo ink dates back to the Neolithic period, around 3,300 years before Christ. The first pigments were basically charcoal, like those used in the tattoos of Ötzi, the Iceman found in the Alps. The technique consisted of rubbing charcoal into incisions made in the skin. And this ink was used both to paint the inside of caves and to make tattoos. But that was not the only recipe. There were several others using animal dye, vegetable dye as well. Charcoal is just one of which we are certain was used. This ink could also have been used to make tattoos, like that of the Iceman Ötzi, which dates back more than 5,000 years. Here in South America, there are also reports of tattoos dating back more than 5,000 years in our Amazon rainforest. Initially, tattoos here were done by the indigenous people using thorns like those of this palm tree here. All they needed were 2 pieces of wood and a bit of string or of animal skin so they could tie it. And here I have a thread, and I will show you how they used to do it back then. All they needed to do was choose a good thorn from this palm tree, which exists in a vast variety here in our Brazil. With the thorns in hand, what was needed now was to tie them to a branch like this one here. This technique is called tatau and is a traditional practice in Polynesian cultures, especially on islands like Samoa, Tahiti, Hawaii, and New Zealand. With our primitive machine in hand and the ink, now we need to make a tattoo. Remembering that there was no need to sterilize back then since biosecurity was invented in 1970, now I will dip my needle in the ink. With this hand here, I will support it in a way that it won't touch my skin. With this other stick, I am going to hit on top and do this here. This hand serves as a buffer so the needle can bounce back.
Music.
I did not focus on the beauty of the drawing. I made a simple triangle because my focus was really to understand what the pain was like using this technique, in addition to the main thing, which is the experience. It was in this way that the native tribes here in South America and on several other continents made their tattoos thousands of years ago, using a palm thorn or another plant and 2 sticks to beat. The name of this tattoo style is quite well known in New Zealand, where it is called tatal, which is what gave rise to the name tattoo from the tatal technique for making a design on the skin. Listen to my zinga poesia. This video was a lot of work to produce. If you liked it, go ahead and leave your like. If you are not subscribed, subscribe so I can bring more videos like this telling the history of tattoos for you. And here in the description of this video, I have a gift, a promotional link to Artifusion, and with the code Nexus5, you can get a discount of 5 to 15% on Nexus Pro products, which are sponsoring this video. Remember, tattoos are not a fad, but a history. You don't just carry the design, but the evolution of such an ancient art.